Craig Tyzzer, thank you for joining us today at Pod Laver Arena. And you're joining us at a time where you would typically, or often in your career, be heading off to Wimbledon. Tell us what life is like for you now.
Look, it's changed a lot. Obviously being home in Melbourne, the weather changes and it's totally different. But I haven't travelled overseas for the last 3 years, and it's been a bit of a blessing because I was a bit probably jaded with my last year with how long Ash and I were away. We were away 9 months, so with quarantining and everything, it was quite difficult to spend that much time away from home, and it was a long time away from home. So I think that took a toll on both of us at that stage. So it's been great to be home and spend some time in Melbourne, watch some football, and see a lot more of the our young juniors coming through as well, which is great.
I guess when Ash retired not long after the Australian Open, so just over 3 years ago, that's the pinnacle of coaching, working with the world's best player at the high performance level. When she made that decision to retire, which you could argue is early, I think she was only 25, what was your plan for you continuing in tennis after that decision was made? What did you kind of know what you were going to do next?
I sort of knew it was coming. I felt after she'd won Wimbledon, it was close to, she achieved everything she wanted to achieve. I've always said I think the Australian Open was for everyone else. She just wanted to do that for Australia. And so it wasn't a massive surprise to me. We'd discussed a lot of things. I certainly didn't want to go straight back on the road. I'd had quite a few offers and still have. I was close again actually at the Australian Open this year, got approached by a few players, and I was close because I felt it was someone who was younger, I could spend a bit of time with, get them to a point where I think they could play a much higher level than what they're playing at the moment. And I could see some longevity in that, so I didn't want to take on someone who was, in their 30s, but it's sort of, it has to be right for me. I don't just want to walk back in and not feel comfortable with it. So, but my role with Tennis Australia is that I work with our best juniors in the girls. So from 14 to 24, I spend time with the coaches and players around the country, and I've actually quite enjoyed it. So, and like I said, I haven't had any international travel, but I've been able to, I feel like, add some insight into what is coming for these girls and for these players, and then also help them with how to get to the next level.
We know that you can't give us names, but it's kind of in our nature.
You want to start guessing who it was?
No, but to ask for a few clues, if you do return to coaching, to international coaching, would it be most likely with an Australian player?
I would like to be an Australian player, but the offers haven't come from. It's been others, from both Europe and the US. So. And I think it's probably from where I'd come from within, playing at that high level with Ash, spending time with those players and coaches and stuff. They got to know me better as well. So that's sort of where it's come from in those regards. So, and then it's really just been the setups. I've basically only said yes to one person out of about 14 approaches.
Wow.
So,
You're in demand though. 14 approaches is incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe, when you said earlier in the chat that 9 months on the road with Ash in 2021 was so taxing. Obviously it was, because we were still in, there was quarantine issues and borders and stuff like that. But I guess at the same time, from my memory, Ash's 2021 was an incredible season. She won Wimbledon. She was world number one. She won she was the leading player in the world. Did that make the 9 months on the road easier, given it was so successful?
It certainly didn't make it easier. It made it more enjoyable. In that, you're achieving the results you're aiming for. It was a real struggle. It took a big toll, like I said, on both of us, because of the fact that Ash is such a homebody too. So for her not to be able to get home, I mean, luckily Gary could travel, so he was on the road with us most of the time. So that was really nice to have. At least she had someone around all the time. I mean, our team was really close. So we certainly enjoyed each other's company. And after Wimbledon, we all went to the Bahamas for a holiday. So before the Olympics. So it was a big year because the Olympics was also in there. We couldn't get back because of quarantining. We had to also quarantine in a hotel 3 weeks for Wimbledon, which had never happened before. So it was a really difficult year for us. And even getting from Europe to the UK, we had to quarantine to get into the UK, and then coming home was 2 weeks every time. So we just couldn't justify coming home and spending that amount of time.
Such an incredible commitment when you look back on that time. Like, it kind of became a little bit normal, but yeah, it must have been such a huge commitment just to sort of stay out there on tour, especially as an Australian. Yeah,
I think that's the thing people forget is that, you know, Ash's results speak for themselves, but the fact that we've got to travel so much, you know, most of the tennis except for that Australian summer is overseas. So, yeah, you spend a lot of time flying and travelling and away from home. And we were lucky enough to have a lot of players that we got to know who in Europe and America who said, come and stay, you know, you can use my house when you want to, just to take a break. But it's, I mean, which was lovely, but it's still not home and family. So, but yeah, look, a massive commitment by Ash and, you know, an incredible year. Like you said, 2021 was an amazing year to achieve everything she did, and then put the Olympics in there with a bronze medal.
Yes.
It was a fantastic year.
You always had such a special relationship with Ash. How can you talk about that relationship?
Yeah, look, you know, it was interesting. I sort of took Ash away when Jason Stoltenberg was coaching her to Europe for 6 weeks. He wanted me to spend the clay court series with her, and we got along really well. Like, she was...
What year was that?
She was 16. So basically right after that is when she stopped. So I think I was the cause of her taking a 2-year hiatus from the sport.
We'll do that full circle moment in this chat.
But we got along really well, and I think she just really enjoyed... Because I didn't really do anything with regard to her technique because Jason was a coach as well, and there was a few things we worked on that Jason had said, keep an eye on these. But I spent a lot of time with her with analysis and talking how she wins these matches, and she really enjoyed that. And I think when she came back, she sort of tracked me down and said, are you interested? And I said, look, if you're serious, yes, I'd be interested. And she wanted to do it her way, and she wanted to do it the right way and put the right people around her. So, yeah, I was fully invested. But, yeah, I think the fact that we really enjoyed, like, for me, finding out ways Ash could win on court and how her game is able to beat certain players and then how she can play a different game to beat other players. And having that, I really enjoyed the analysis of looking at opposition and working ways that Ash could get in to beat those players. And she really bought into that. Such a good competitor, and I think that's why she had such good results. But yeah, look, we just sort of clicked. We never had really any... I've had a few stern words, but nothing where it was more like talking about where her mind was and where she was at certain times, that I felt like she just needed, you know, a kick up the bum to go, let's get into this and show them what you can do. And I always felt like she never... walked into a tournament where she wasn't 100% and 100% ready. She was always ready to go. So I think we did that really well. And, yeah, look, we still talk pretty regularly and still catch up. You know, I caught up with her just recently, and she's now just had a second baby. So, yeah, it's wonderful time and wonderful news.
Puts the kibosh on comeback plans. Everyone must always ask you about that, right? Is she going to come back? You know, it's not unusual for a mother to come back. But, yeah, if you've had a second one, sounds like she's pretty settled. Yeah,
look, she just loves her life. You know, she's really close with her sisters who are similar. They both got 2 children. You know, a very close, tight-knit family. They all live in the same area. They all see each other every day and regularly. So, yeah, she really enjoys where she's at in her life. So she's as happy as she could be, yeah.
Ash's run, so obviously we'd like to talk a bit more about Wimbledon because it's this time of year, but recently it was Roland Garros. And Ash's career, that was amazing that her first Grand Slam was at Roland Garros on a surface that she professed to not like as much as other surfaces. And when you actually go back, weren't we looking at it the other day, Viv? And when you look at the time it was like, oh, there was no one in the top 10 that she beat. But if you look at those names now that she beat, 3 of them are major champions. I think all of them have been in the top 10 except for one. Like, it's retrospectively, it's an incredible list of people she beat. And just winning a Grand Slam title at Roland Garros, which I assume was unexpected. What was that like for you as a coach, her achieving that ultimate success on clay against that caliber of opposition and kind of pretty early into her comeback, where we always talk about her winning the Australian Open and Wimbledon, but that was such an incredible feat in Paris.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Ash really didn't grow up on clay and playing on clay, but her game suited clay. Having a slice, being able to slide really well, movement was a big part of it. But also I think just her adaptability, like even that year she won, there was 2 matches that she played in just constant drizzle. So it was wet, balls were heavy. It actually affected her arm with the heavy balls. So she had humeral bone stress even when she first came back. And the French Open always, with the heavier balls, always caused that a little bit too. So she went through some tough times and then the semi-final against Anisimova was like a breakout for her. The fact that she led, sort of lost her way mentally and then was able to regain it and end up working through that match to win it, I think was a huge step forward in her career. And then to go on to win it was unbelievable. But yeah, we never really talked about winning Grand Slams or winning tournaments. It was more each match. Like, it didn't matter if it was the first round or the final. We treated it exactly the same. Same preparation, same process. So it never felt like it was a big occasion for her. It was always, no, it's just another match. Like, you do what you do. So that year, neither of us expected she was going to win Wimbledon, but I always felt clay was probably her best surface, so there was always going to be a chance. But you have to be super tough and super ready for, like I said, any conditions. We had 2 wet days. We had sunny days where the ball's bouncy and lively, and you've got to be ready to handle all that sort of stuff. And we were lucky enough to go through that year with watching Rafa do it, and to think that he's won it 14 times is just cannot understand how that's possible. Like, just how strong he is mentally to do that is incredible.
After that, she got to world number 1 and then made the 4th round of Wimbledon. And Wimbledon seemed to be the one that she clearly wanted the most, but there were some traumatic losses at Wimbledon. She talks about in her book losing to Kasatkina in 2018, and that, I think, didn't that spark the connection with Ben Crowe?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 2019 she lost in the 4th round when she was number 1, and then there wasn't one in 2020. What clicked in 2021 to make it all come together and finally achieve that goal?
Again, it was, she'd injured herself at the French, and pretty significant injury, had a significant tear. So I wasn't sure we were going to Wimbledon at any stage. It was more our physio, Melanie Omazolo, who sort of said, I think I can treat Ash on the symptoms and it doesn't look as bad as what the all the medical information is telling us. Ash doesn't seem to be reacting as badly. She was in a lot of pain at the French, but obviously that was the initial tear. And so we basically she did physical training. Like I said, we had to quarantine in the UK. Mel sort of said, let's just give it a try. And I went, okay, trust you. Did a lot of training. Mel had bought her a scooter so she could strengthen the leg. And so we were scooting around the house, and we had a watt bike that we got delivered to the house. So we did a heap of training. And we actually didn't hit a ball between the second round of the French to 3 days before Wimbledon.
Wow.
And that was my biggest concern, that she just wasn't going to be tennis-wise ready. And I know we'd done a lot of work coming into the French, and I thought she was in the best form of her life coming into the French. And then so once we got on the practice courts at Wimbledon, we couldn't do a whole lot, sort of trickled in. And then once she got through the first round, I thought, yeah, we're actually in pretty good shape. Did I think she could win the tournament? Probably not.
And so was it the reason she was able to succeed in 2021 on less match play, whereas she hadn't in previous years, do you think that might have been more mental then? Yeah,
look, maybe. I mean, Wimbledon's always, I've never felt if you hit on the other grass courts like Eastbourne or Nottingham, that you come into Wimbledon in great form because the grass is nothing like it. So the first 3 days at Wimbledon, it's soft and low bouncing, and it sort of gradually speeds up through so it's very different. So I wasn't concerned about having grass court form coming in. I was just more concerned she hadn't hit a lot of balls. But yeah, maybe it just took the expectations off her as well. So it was really, we were so worried about her getting through every match. So she played Carla Suarez Navarro first round, who was her retirement match.
Oh, yeah.
And so Ash, we'd worked out, you know, tactically how to play her and in the second set she sort of just drifted off and I went, oh no, if this goes to 3 sets, not good for her. It went to 3 sets. And she sort of said, no, I got lost a bit watching Carla play that beautiful one-handed backhand over the court. And I went, hang on a sec.
This is a tennis fan down the other end of the court.
2 sets would have been nice just to get through. But yeah, ended up a 3-setter and she felt pretty good getting through. So it was sort of every match was going to be a bit of a test. And even the middle Sunday, which I think now they play anyway, but it was always the day off and could practice. Because we were staying at the hotel and it was like an hour and a half each way to get from the centre of London to Wimbledon in the cars, I gave her the Sunday off, even though I felt like she needed more time. But she was just happy to be, I don't have to do the 3 hours in the car again. And yeah. And so, yeah, it was sort of a bit of a trial and error. But, yeah, she just played great tennis in the end, yeah.
It was obviously a very different Wimbledon than most Wimbledons. I remember it so clearly for many reasons, but including because we were, as media, we were covering it from here. So, you know, I remember kind of waking up in the middle of the night, and I actually remember doing a press conference with you. I think it was 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning here in Australia. Do you think, were you aware of just kind of how much excitement and, you know, obviously there was a lot of hype and, you know, the media love getting on the story, but did that help sort of being a little bit removed from it as well?
Yeah, look, I think when you're away, you do, like I only really realised what was going on back in Australia when I'd ring my family and have a chat with, you know, my kids and wife at home. And they'd sort of be saying, oh, it's unbelievable. And I sort of going, oh, yeah, okay. It's like, and they go, no, it's actually unbelievable. Like it's going so well. And I sort of go, yeah, no, it is going well. But I think you just get so caught up. Like I said, we get so caught up in just, for me, the preparation of the next round, go and watch the opponent, go and watch some matches of the opponent, and then figure out how Ash is going to beat them. And then you're sort of doing the warm-ups and practice and getting to the match. So for me, it's all that side of it, which never changes. So regardless of, you know, which round it is, or the only time it changed at Wimbledon was Ash and I went to hit on the practice courts and it rained, so we got moved to court 1 with the roof closed. But we were in colours because we'd been on the practice.
I remember this, yeah.
And we just waltzed in there and there's like everyone else is in there and everyone's in white and we're just in our colour. I went, oh my God, this is not right. But it was just, we just sort of made it really light and had a good hit and it worked out really well. So, and I was pretty happy hitting on court 1 at Wimbledon as well. So
pretty good.
Yeah. So it was fun, but it was quite funny because we had some funny incidents. I was down the end because we warmed up with Sasha and Pliskova. They were on court as well. So Sasha was down my end and he was just raving how good it is to get on court 1 and hit. And he's serving down these absolute bomb serves to Pliskova and not many were going in. And Ash was saying, I was talking to her afterwards, I said, oh God, he was so funny on the court. He was just loving life out there, having a good time. And he said, yeah, Caroline was talking to me. She said, he can't hit a serve in the court. I'm not getting much practice here. So it was 2 opposite ends of the court. But yeah, look, it was a weird, we were really, Ash didn't really enjoy the hotel because normally you stay walking distance to there was a big dining room. Ash went there once. Oh. She had an apartment which she could cook, and so she bought cooking stuff and got food bought in. She never left her apartment. She didn't come down to the dining room because there's like 400 people in the dining room. And we're tested every day away, like COVID. It just felt like the worst environment for what we're in, but we understood it all. So But it was just, completely different to what you experience normally at Wimbledon.
A weird and wonderful
Yeah,
Wimbledon.
in the end, yeah.
But being at home in Australia, and I think it lifted spirits so much in that difficult year. Yeah.
2 million people tuned in and watched it, and she won in the middle of the night. Like, it was 1:30 a.m. or something like that on a Saturday. But like that's like Australian Open ratings.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Talking about how you prepared for matches and kept everything very similar. We prepare for a first round like we prepare for a final. I hope that means you still celebrate the big wins when it's approached the same way, but there's no doubting winning a Grand Slam is not the same as winning a first round match. So did you guys as a team really take time to celebrate the wins? Because a lot of players say they regret not celebrating what they achieved.
Yeah, no, that was a big part of what we did. We always wanted to make sure we celebrated the good times, and obviously the win is the end result that you're trying to get each week and at each tournament, but the Grand Slams in particular. So, Ash didn't really celebrate. It was a real change for her. Like, she didn't know how to react. She really was completely different after winning Wimbledon. It was, even talking to her family, she was different. It was, obviously her entire dream was to win Wimbledon, so to achieve it was... She didn't know how to react. She sort of, once we got to, like I said, we went to the Bahamas for a holiday, she let go down there.
Good.
Oh, she deserved it.
And we enjoyed that. Yeah, it didn't really help our Olympic Games preparation, but she really started to enjoy it there. Yeah, which was good. But we did. We really made the most of the Australian Open one. Was another really good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to get onto that one. Take us through the Australian Open, because, as you say, it was so different to Wimbledon.
Yeah, look, very different. Even pre-season was fantastic. Ash was calm and clear. Normally can be quite irritable in pre-season in that things aren't right, wants to get everything. She was a bit of a perfectionist, so quite relaxed and enjoyed pre-season, which was like, hang on a second, that's a bit strange. And then got to Adelaide, and she was so relaxed playing matches. I was talking to Mark Taylor, our strength and conditioning. I go, this is really like, I don't feel like I've got to motivate her. I don't feel like, I feel like we've just got to keep her happy. She was just playing such a good level of tennis, and it almost looked like she didn't care. She didn't care whether she lost or won. She was just free. And that's what it felt like when she was playing. And it was exactly the same at the Australian Open. Like, all the stuff during her matches was exactly how we planned it, and I'm sort of going, this never works. Like, all the preparation had worked out, all the matches had worked out. It was like, this is really strange. And so, I felt she was very different in her attitude, like, in all of that. So, and like I said, I probably felt like she was in the best form for Grand Slams that she'd ever been in. And for her to then win it and then retire was like, hang on, she's in the best form of her life. She's going to walk away. But that was probably the reason that she knew. So the only time she got nervous was the final, before the final. That was the only match she got nervous for.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, but like normally there's a bit of jitters before everything, or, someone she's feels uncomfortable against, or... there's always that little bit of nervous, but there was none. Like, she was so relaxed throughout the entire tournament. It was really strange.
Which is especially incredible when you're playing at home as well, with all that pressure.
Yeah.
No, that's
all
right.
That history on the line as well. Like, there was the drought. Like, it had been 40-something years.
44.
44 years.
We heard it enough times.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we had discussions about. Like, we knew, okay, Ash, this is going to be huge, right? Everyone's banking on you to win this, 44 years since someone's last one, and we just discussed, like, Ash, there's no, and this was in pre-season, there's no pressure on anything. Like, the only pressure, and she went, well, all that I'm expecting is that what I expect from myself, and that was the way she approached it, is like, there's all that talk, everyone can keep saying that, yep, understand it, but I expect what I expect from myself, and that was how she went into it. And I think, she did a great job. It was tough in Australia for her because she got pulled by everyone. Yeah. And so we really made sure that didn't happen at this AO. So it was quite controlled.
And I guess 6 weeks after she won the AO, she retired. And when you look at what she achieved, she won 3 slams on 3 different surfaces. I remember when she did that at the time, I think it was like this crazy group of people that had done it. It was like Roger, Novak, Rafa and Serena and Ash. They were like the only active players that had done that. So she's joined this incredible lot. She's number 1 for 100 weeks and then she retires. Like now that we can reflect on her career, where does she sit among the greats of the game? Because she did achieve things that are like Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously tennis-wise, you'd put her right up there with all of those people, especially in the women's side of it. I mean, she didn't continue right through, so who knows what she could have done, but and finish her. But she did what she wanted to do, and that was, obviously Wimbledon was a dream, and then the Australian Open to win on a hard court and to win at home was, obviously another dream for her. But yeah, look, with regard to her talent and her tennis, she's definitely right up there with the best of them. Yeah, like you said, 120 something weeks at number 1 through some difficult times, and certainly, an incredible career she had. Yeah.
When you look back on your career with your time with Ash, I should say, you were obviously there to guide her and influence her. But what did you learn from Ash?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of the players get asked, what do you remember what a coach said to you? What do you remember saying? I think it was just to not overthink things, to not I always used to worry about warm-ups and things like that with regard to players, and Ash could have a terrible warm-up and then with time she'd hit the match, it'd be boom, like it was switched on. Or she could have a great warm-up and then things. So it was, a lot of the time, your expectations don't necessarily meet what's going to happen. And all you can do is prepare players. I felt like, okay, the best thing I can do is have Ash ready so there was no surprises. And that was, I think, the best thing I learnt with Ash was I wanted to make sure she never walked out on court and went, oh my God, I didn't know this girl could do that. So I always wanted her ready for... in that sense. So I think she taught me a lot of things, like about, team bonding, like getting our team to be, because she was the first one that started talking about the team, and it was never about her, because she knew we all put in, huge amounts of work to get her there. But I mean, she was obviously the one out there on her own doing everything. So I learned a lot about that and managing other people, managing outside expectations and all of that. So, yeah, it was a massive step for me in my coaching career, yeah.
But your coaching career is a lot longer than maybe... You're very famous for working with Ash Barty, but I think correct me if I'm wrong, but you worked with Andrew Illy back in the 90s. He was one of the first people I saw play at the Australian Open when I was a kid. I didn't know you coached him at the time, but I have found that out.
Yeah.
And obviously you didn't start coaching Ash until 2016. So, yeah, tell us about your coaching journey up to that point, who else you worked with, and, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, look, Andrew was... Yeah, I was basically working at a club. I'd been with Tony Roach, and then I was overseas coaching. Worked with some of the best juniors with Tony, which was sort of my introduction to coaching, and loved every minute of that. And then went over to the US and worked at Newk's Tennis Ranch with a high-performance kids who lived in there. So we had some good juniors there as well. So I'd sort of kicked off my career doing that. And then I came back and I was basically just working at a tennis club. I started, I thought, this is probably the lifestyle. I had a family, didn't want to travel as much. Sort of spent time at home, and then it was like one day Andrew Illy just came to, and Roachy had mentioned to him, because he'd obviously contacted him, and he said, why don't you go and talk to me? And he came to me and he was like, almost begging. He'd had a bad back injury, told he couldn't play anymore. And I felt super sorry for the guy, and I said, look, I'm happy to do what I can. And we sort of worked for 6 months, and all he could get into was qualies at the Aussie Open, so we sort of trained and got worked through to that, and he qualified and went to the 4th round, which was
that like 6 or 7 wins in a row?
Yeah, kicked him off to sort of travel and play, and then we sort of did a bit I wasn't full-time with him, but did as much as I could at the big tournament. So, so I enjoyed every minute. I mean, he was a amazing, talented, gifted tennis player and, pretty raw with regard to life. So I felt like I taught him more about life than tennis as well. So, really enjoyed that. And then after that, Jason Stoltenberg and I sort of started an academy and worked with a few players. And then I came into Tennis Australia and did worked in here in the national program when it was based here in Melbourne. So, and worked with like Luke Saville and Alex Bolt, still playing those guys, and then had a bit of time with Daria Gavrilova right before Ash asked me to go and work with her.
Okay. Wow. And
actually, have to say, I won the Hopman Cup with Dasha and Nick Kyrgios.
Oh, the 2016 one.
Yep, the last one.
Yes. I remember that when Dasha and Nick played. And then Dasha had a really good AO as well, didn't she?
Yeah, fourth round.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I guess now if you're you're working with our top junior girls coming through, so I would assume that means you keep fairly abreast of like the women's game now, even though Ash is not longer playing at the top.
There's a lot more variety up there. Obviously Sabalenka has made a big difference with her game. She's not only just powerful now, but she's at least thinking of her way through matches, so she's really made her mark at that level. I felt Ash always could figure out a way to get through her and control her power a little bit. So, and hopefully the other girls start to figure that out as well. But like I said, she's getting smarter on the court and figuring out. It's good to see Coco really starting to use her game. Probably still got a few areas that she needs to work on, serve and forehand, but to win the French Open is a pretty good effort. And I think she serves certainly better than she has been at the start of this year there at the French. So I think that was really good.
Is there any part of you that misses being out there on the road, especially at this time of the year?
I think that the stuff that Ash and I used to do about figuring out how to beat opposition, I mean, I still look at matches and analyse how you could figure out how to beat that person and what they could work on. I still talk to a few of the coaches still who are working with the players. They contact me and go, "Did you watch last night's match?" And I go, "Yeah, I watched it." And they go, "What did you see?" So I still
always got the coaching hat on.
I still give a bit of advice to a few. Wim Facette I know really well, who's working with Iga, so we always have long discussions. So, but there's a few.
Former guest of the pod.
Exactly,
yes.
yes.
Wim, a student of the game too.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. So we always have good discussions. So look, it's I still keep an eye on it and still keep in touch with it. So looking forward to seeing what happens at Wimbledon.